which is pooping. That's the secret of life. That's all you have to know. I could leave now. That's it, right there. So eating is the first one that becomes the tipping point of where we talk, where we have conversations as parents. And when you start talking about why we eat and the meaning behind eating, it becomes, originally eating was a social experience where we get to tell stories, where we get to experience each other's enjoyment of life, not sitting in front of a TV or eating by yourself, or eating while running, or eating in the car, or standing up to eat at the meaning of fast food is a very interesting concept. Fast food means fuel. It's like a gas station.
Right.
If the gas station's on the right, I'm going to go there. It doesn't really matter what gas station it is. If McDonald's is on the right, I'm going to go there. It's not about the experience of eating. There's a whole movement called slow food. It's a movement of eating where there's music and poetry and discussion. And a lot of the teenage problems I deal with are all about communication. Validation of the experience of a teenager from a mother or a father, that all can happen at the dinner table if it was set up at 2, 3, starts young.
I think you're absolutely right. I would go over to my grandparents' house every Saturday, and we would have dinner even though it was early, because I would get there about 11 and stay till 3 or 4. But we would have this big meal, and then it became, when I was a little bit older, my grandfather was a chef, so every Saturday I'd go earlier to learn how to make something, and it was, I think it was a very solid part of my life.
Absolutely, and it's probably one of your fondest memories, because the process lays down deeper memories, not just in your limbic system, but deeper into your memory banks, because you're going through a process. I work a lot, my subspecialty is developmental pediatrics, and so I work a lot with kids with ADD, and cooking is one of the greatest treatments. Getting a kid to understand, follow a recipe and look at the magic that comes out, and you get to do it for somebody else and experience it afterwards. Following that, learning from your mother or your father, that's why father role models are so important. When you can get a father cooking in the house and the boy can see that and be part of it, it's not such a girly thing to do. You have actually experienced the process of learning. You're taking facts, the recipe, you're putting it together, and you're making something amazing. It's a book report. That's how you do a book report, right? It's the same thing. Cooking is one of the greatest treatments.
It got me through organic chemistry, believe it or not.
Think about the term, organic chemistry.
When I was in undergraduate school, that was like the course that was the dreaded course, organics.
Me too.
So when I went in, and then I realized, I was like, this is like cooking. This is a recipe.
That's all it
You're
is.
taking this and adding it, and you're getting that. So I mean, I aced organic just on the premise that it was like cooking.
That's right, and that's learning. Eating is learning. Learning is eating. Digesting information. The immune system is part of that process. You're digesting information from the outside world. You need time to sort of digest it, and time, ultimately, is the most alternative medicine right now.
In what way?
We don't take time anymore.
No.
The most alternative thing a doctor can do right now is spend time with his patients, hold their hand, listen to their story. That's alternative medicine.
I can't, I was telling you, with the economy the way it is, I'm getting more and more patients who have lost their job, men and women, and I spend more time hugging guys who just break down because I'm listening to their story. I'm listening to what's happening. We get patients who come in with a sore throat, and I know these people, so I'm kind of like, are you all right? And the next thing you know, it's like, I lost my job, and everything comes out. It's almost like you release a floodgate, and there's no one that people can talk to. We're a rushed society. I really think that a lot of the problems, even with ADD with kids, because they live in front of a computer and they're watching this constant quickness, and then you expect them to sit in a classroom with their hands in their lap, and how do you expect them to sit still?
Well, I call that the slow modem syndrome. So a child spends all this time on video games, and he's adapting at a very young age. You can't blame the victim here.
Right.
He's adapting to whatever information we're feeding him. So if you're feeding information with constant points, and you're getting all this reward system, and it's very visual and very exciting. I love video games, and very addictive. The problem is when you, as you said, go back into a classroom where they're still teaching the way they did 100 years ago, you get this disconnect. And it's sort of like if you were to go back now and use a 56K dial-up modem and watch it paint the screen, you'd go crazy. You'd like,
I do.
Right.
I start pressing buttons right away.
So whose problem is that? So to experience what a child feels like in those situations, you go home and don't use the clicker on the TV for a week and have to get up to change the channel. That's what we did when we were growing up. But now it's unheard of. We wouldn't even think of that. But that's what it feels like. So the child adapting to this electronic technological world, I call digital natives. And we're digital immigrants. So we can use it, but it's not written into our souls. And so we're moving into this very weird place. We're in a transition now where our generation, who are the teachers, don't understand that they're learning on a different way. Now there is a problem with it because they're multitasking to such a degree that they don't know what unitasking means anymore. Right. What it means to do one thing and only one thing. So that needs training, and it has to start with a baby. It has to start when you're born. You can't expect it to change at 7. It's not fair to the child.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. We actually got digressed from Chinese medicine.
It's all Chinese medicine.
This is really
This is Chinese medicine, though. This is the heart of Chinese medicine because they're looking at the big picture, the global picture of all the things that play into your life, not just what herb or what medicine or what acupuncture point. All of this plays into the approach because we are embedded in our environment. And until we are willing to recognize that, it's not Chinese medicine. A lot of the problems with modern Chinese medicine, TCM medicine, is that it's trying to be like Western medicine.
Right.
And then it's losing the spirit of the medicine, which is this the true meaning of holistic medicine is that the big picture of your family and the effect they have on you, your friends, your house, the structure of your house, what we call feng shui of your house, technology, school, these are all stressors or potentially support. So a lot of times I'll ask a child who's having trouble in school, where do they sleep in their room? That's weird from a Western medicine model. What does that have to do with anything? But that's Chinese medicine. You know, what position is he sleeping in? That's a question that's asked in homeopathy, in Chinese medicine, in many different fields. So for me, what's so beautiful about it is that it opens up this vast way of being a physician in the true sense of the word, like you're doing with your patients. When someone comes to you and they come for a sore throat and you open them up like that, that's medicine. You could say, well, that's not really Western medicine, but that's real medicine. Because they leave feeling better than they came. Right. And what Chinese medicine really did for me is it brought me back to my patient. Because the needle, one of my great teachers told me that the needle is just an excuse for making contact with the patient. So when you hug them, you're doing acupuncture. You are.
And it's really funny because I had a patient last week who came in and was really undergoing this big family issue. And she started crying, of course. I hugged her. And, you know, I was patting her like this, and she was really holding on to me and just kind of like really sobbed and then said, wow, I haven't had a hug in who knows how long.
Yeah.
And this is a person who's in a relationship, you know, who has a significant other,